Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we're joined by Stuart Booth, who is the Director of Sales for UK and Ireland at BCV. Stuart, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, no, thank you for having me.
It's great to finally get you on the show because obviously we've spoken more than a number of occasions now. So yeah, it's good to finally get you on.
No, I've been looking forward to this.
So how we like to start the show is, as I'm sure you're aware from all the episodes you've already watched, of course, it'd be good to get a bit of an idea about you, your background, obviously what your current role is with BCV. So Stuart, please do take it away.
Yeah, so background-wise, is 90% of my career has been hospitality, and a lot of that has been in hospitality tech in one way or another. But everything started off bizarrely with the National Lottery. I used to look after Essex and Kent for the National Lottery way back when, and that was really interesting. You know, that was great. I had a 25 million portfolio that was all about building the revenue and creating demand and things like that, and it was a fantastic experience. But then I was asked to join a company called Authentic, which back then, and I believe they still do, were sort of the biggest company in hotel pay television. So we're going back to about 2008. So basically, my job within Authentic was to look after the existing accounts and build the revenue. So, you know, I'd spend my life going up and down the country, and further on in my career with Authentic, I spent a lot of time in Europe, working with the existing accounts and coming up with as many ways as possible to build that revenue through the pay television.
Sure.
Which again was a real baptism of fire into hospitality, because we dealt with a lot of luxury properties. So I was going from 1 minute speaking to senior managers of Tesco to the next minute speaking to senior managers of Hilton and Marriott and guys like that. So it was a great baptism of fire, really, really good sort of 4 or 5 years that I was there. And then from there, I've worked in OTA with one of the major OTAs, looking after London. I've also worked with Avio, which is a fantastic company. Again, that's on the hotel tech, the booking engine, AI booking engine side. And then, I was approached by RateGain to come and launch BCV into the UK market. So that's where I am now. And as you said, I'm the director of sales for the UK and Ireland. And it's very much my job to build the brand, to increase the awareness, to potentially partner with fantastic people such as yourself. And just really get BCV moving in the UK.
Fantastic. And just for, I suppose, the benefit of the audience, because obviously we've talked at length about BCV and what it is and how it works and so on and so forth. But just for the benefit of the audience, tell us, what is BCV? What does it offer its clients? How does it work?
So BCV, we're basically the number one provider of very much tech-enabled social media solutions, but specifically for hospitality. So the very, very quick version is BCV was started in 2010 in Chicago. And they built up a huge base of hotels in the US. We work very much in the luxury sector, the 4-5 star, and we work with brands such as Four Seasons, Fairmont, Hilton of all brands, Marriott of all brands, some really, really major players in the market. And we also work with a lot of independents. BCV's kind of role in the market is to really be a one-stop shop, a very comprehensive solution for social media. So, the problem that hotels have with social media is that, you can go to an agency and they can do all your beautiful creative and your video and your photo. They can do a certain amount of account management, but it kind of stops there. And the difference that a hotel needs is, it needs monitoring of the social platforms. It needs the higher level of analytics. It's very concept based. So what BCV offers is everything on the creative side. Every kind of creative aspect you can think of. Very, very high level account management, but we also have a monitoring team of living, breathing human beings
Yeah,
who have empathy and emotion and intelligence. You know, we don't do any kind of bot monitoring, anything like that,
yeah.
where we can monitor a hotel's social channels 24/7. And that allows us to basically react to anything that happens on social and either react on behalf of the hotel or escalate to the hotel. So very, very different proposition to anything that's available in the UK at the moment.
I was going to say that's what struck me the most when we first started speaking, but then obviously you went through that presentation. It was a bit of a jaw dropper for me because I think, in my opinion, and I think this is the opinion of a lot of people, to be fair, I think the hospitality industry, or at least a lot of hotels, they have a very difficult time, let's say, in terms of their social media, because my experience has always been, every time I talk to a GM or an MD, it's one of these situations where they just give a camera to a member of staff that's on at that point. You know, they take a picture of the bar quickly, they take a picture of the restaurant very quickly, or whatever the facility is, and then it just gets slapped online, and then they hope to gain some sort of engagement where there's no strategy, there's nothing behind that to really bolster, to gain that traction and obviously optimize the business, right? And I think that was one of the big things with you guys, is that is purely the focus. It's literally their social media feeds and how to draw that business in. And ultimately, you've come from an OTA background. Ultimately, if they can step away or have less dependence on OTAs, ultimately, that's a good thing, right? That's one of the biggest parts of it.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, driving direct is what everybody wants to do.
Yeah.
The OTA side is a necessary side. I don't think anyone can ever say that it's not. But if we can drive more direct, especially now with with revenue and everything in the way it's been over the last year,
yeah,
if we can really drive that direct business for a hotel, then perfect. ROI on ad spend and things like that is what we specialize in, generating ROI. We work on an average of 28x return on ad spend. For a hotel. So yeah, it's all about that driving direct, but more than that as well, it's about driving awareness of the hotel.
Yeah.
Direct messaging to hotels. So we've seen a 40% increase, over 40% in fact, in the last year of people directly messaging hotels via social. People aren't picking up the phone anymore.
No.
People aren't emailing anymore. They know that the number one way and the quickest way to get to a hotel now is to just message via social. But the problem obviously is with that, the hotel needs to be there to answer it. So
no, this is it. And I suppose this brings me quite nicely onto my first question to yourself, which is, I suppose, from your perspective, what do you believe hotels need to be doing, or what changes do you think hotels need to be doing to really sort of focus on that social media aspect and I suppose cope with the demand that's going to be coming in? What changes do you think hotels need to be making?
Do you know what? In the UK, there are so many. Now,
let's make a list.
Let's go. I've got a piece of paper and a pen. It's fine. So bearing in mind we're a US company, okay. So we've been going. We've become the number one company in the US for this over the last 11 years.
Sure.
Social media adoption by hotels in the US is absolutely paramount. They see it as their biggest channel now in driving, possibly aside from OTA, to driving guests into the door. In the UK, we're very, very behind, I would say, is the best way of putting it on that.
Okay.
It's not seen as such an importance. Now, that little stat I gave earlier about 40% increase in messages. So that kind of brings me on to one of the major things that hotels need to change is the way they use social media, the amount they use social media, and the amount they rely on it. But B, it's how they monitor that social media and that social media platform. So the issue that we have with hotels is that anyone who doesn't work in hospitality and doesn't have the hospitality knowledge that we have assumes that if I send a message in via Facebook or Instagram to a hotel, it's going to be answered. Now, people expect an answer within 1 hour if they're complaining. This is about 70% of people. But everyone else, if they're just asking a general question, what time can I check in tomorrow, for example, they expect to reply to that within 2 hours. what people who don't work in our industry don't understand is that somebody in a hotel wears about 9 different hats a day.
Yeah.
Okay, there is nobody like me or you right now sitting in front of our laptop waiting for Mr. Smith to message us about, can he get room service past 9 p.m.
Yeah,
Okay,
if only. Yeah.
So monitoring is absolutely huge now. I've seen examples, and I'll give you a quick example of somebody who messaged into a hotel saying, can I check in at 1 p.m. tomorrow instead of 3 p.m. Now, this person messaged, and it landed about 3 a.m. in the morning, this message.
Yeah.
So nobody saw it, nobody read it. Guy turns up at next day at 1 p.m. to check in, says, hi, here to check in. They said, well, I'm sorry, you can't check in till 3. And he said, well, I messaged you and I asked if I could check in at 1. And they said, no, sorry, we didn't receive any message. This guy's already had a bad experience from the first moment. But more than that, what that guy then went on to do was complain about the hotel on social.
Yeah.
To the masses. When you put things like this on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, you know, unless you're on top of this stuff, it's there forever.
Yeah.
So monitoring of a hotel's social channels is really important, and that's again why BCV created this monitoring team. We do it with our own bespoke software as well. So what we do is we see the messages coming in for a particular hotel on whatever platform, and we can then react to them accordingly.
Yeah.
In real time. You know, we're there 24/7 to do this. So one of the major things that hotels really need to do is monitor that social media, monitor their platforms, look at what questions are coming in, but also keep an eye for any sales opportunities. There are so many sales opportunities that appear on social. How many times have you seen somebody asking for a recommendation on Facebook? Even if it's, you know, for a painter to come in and paint the house. You know, guys, I need a recommendation. We see a hell of a lot recommendations for where should I stay.
Yes.
Now, if we're working with a hotel, for example, and that hotel is mentioned, we can pick that up and we can then send that to the sales and marketing director. Now, if someone isn't working with an external agency like BCV, there still needs to be somebody checking on this stuff. You can be losing fortunes in potential revenue. And the one thing I say to a lot of hoteliers I talk to is, if you're not doing this, your competitor is. Yes. And that's the thing you really need to be aware of. So monitoring is one thing. The next thing I would say is content. You know, content is absolute king.
Yeah.
So hotels historically use a lot, as you said earlier, they will use something called employee generated content, EGC, which is sending the youngest person in the room out with an iPhone, take a photo of our bar, take a photo of our front of our building. Or we'll recycle existing website content that we already have, right? Yeah. The whole point of social media is immersion. Okay, so the next generation of travelers, they live their lives vicariously through other people's experiences that they see on social. Okay. So when you put these posts up, these what I call very architectural posts. Yes. This is the front of our building. This is a bar. This is the lobby. Nobody cares.
It's true. It's true.
Nobody cares in the nicest possible way. If you want to attract somebody to your hotel, your content has got to be attractive. Yeah. You know, so again, we generally always have some form of human interaction in our photography work. Yeah. You know, there's a picture we use when we were talking to people where there's a load of, I think you've seen it actually, a load of food on a table, and there's a couple of hands kind of diving into the food. Yeah. If you take those hands away from that picture, it's just a plate of food. As soon as you add in that human interaction, it enables you for that one split second to put yourself in the position of the person that's in that picture. Yeah. Instagram is all about, look at me, look what I'm doing, look where I am, you're not doing it.
Yes.
But
wouldn't you love to?
Wouldn't you love to? Exactly. Wouldn't you love to? And I'm going to show you that I'm doing it. Yeah. And so the content has to be, you know, it has to be interactive, has to be interesting. It has to be, you know, that little bit of putting yourself in that position. So I think, you know, in answer to the question overall, it's all about making sure that you're sort of looking after your social media in terms of your monitoring, in terms of understanding who's making what comments and what you can do with those comments. It's also about understanding the general importance of social media and how big it's going to be going forward. Because this, you know, this is not going to get smaller. This is only going to get bigger.
Yes.
You look at the emergence of TikTok. You know, it's huge. I thought TikTok was something that, you know, 6-year-old, 10-year-olds danced on and, you know, and showed their friends. But when you actually look at the statistics of how big TikTok is getting, it's going to be massive.
Yeah, the engagement is crazy. As soon as you put anything up, you get so much more engagement than you do from Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, completely.
Yeah, and TikTok, as an example, may not, you know, if you're a very, very high-end luxury hotel, may not be the thing that's going to get you rooms booked. But I tell you what, it will be the thing that gets people coming into your restaurant to do tea in the afternoons. It's coming into events. You know, it's all that ways of secondary revenue that it's going to be really important for. So there's that. And then obviously on top of that, remember that your content is king.
Yeah.
You know, these are the changes that people need to make going forward. Less architectural, more sort of feeling that you can be involved with it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because we've spoken about this before. Is, you know, your next generation of people that are booking hotels, they live their life on their phones, right? You said it yourself, and I don't mean to take the words from you, but I think it is an important point to make, is that, you know, anybody in this generation, you know, the future generation of hotel booking anyway, you know, if they want a meal, they get it from Just Eat. If they need a cab, they go to Uber. If they want to order a parcel, they get it next day from Amazon. It's one of these, and everything is you know, it needs to be a click or maybe two at tops. So if they click on something, it needs to take them to the booking bit where they just pick the date that they want to book. And I think the sooner the industry starts realizing this, that although it's a human industry, and I do believe that there still needs to be people on the ground able to talk, but in the nicest way possible, the next generation of people booking rarely want to talk to anybody. If there's an issue, they want to talk to somebody. But until then, they just want a seamless process where they can just click, arrive, leave, enjoy themselves, and take pictures while they're there.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's, you know, the old adage that every hotel should have 4 Instagrammable points.
It's so true.
In the building. You know, when you walk into a hotel now and you see one of those gigantic oversized armchairs, you know, that's neon
or a
green.
flower wall. That was a thing. All of 2019 was flower walls.
Yeah, absolutely. You see them, that's your Instagrammable points for your hotel. And there's some hotels that do it brilliantly, you know, really, really well. And when hotels do that, you will really see the engagement rise. And I guess actually that's the other thing I should have said a minute ago with this, is that the other thing is make sure you're targeting the correct audience. You know, social is the only medium where you can absolutely pinpoint target the audience that you want, the heads in beds that you want. You know, I've become quite famous. It's come back to haunt me so many times now about something I did with HSMAI last year where I mentioned dog food. And I said, so I'm watching something at 7:30 at night. The adverts come on. One advert's for an iPhone, the other adverts for dog food, and the other adverts for Coca-Cola.
Right.
So the iPhone one kind of reaches out to me because I'm an iPhone user. The Coca-Cola one kind of reaches out to me because Coca-Cola is in our everyday life and has been since the day we were born.
Yeah.
The dog food one means 0 to me because I don't own a dog. But somebody has still spent a fortune to put that advert in front of my eyes. I think the stat was, I looked into it bizarrely afterwards, and I think the stat was something like, you know, only 48% of the UK own a dog.
Right.
So somebody has spent a fortune putting that advert in front of 48% of people, only a certain percentage of which dog will like that dog food, and you can go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
With social, if you say you want to promote weddings, let's go with weddings. With social, you can target people who have just got engaged.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a golf resort. Let's target people who are on a certain wage.
Yeah.
Who have an interest in golf, have an interest in other golf courses on social, who follow PGA, all that sort of stuff. Or a certain, you know, again, a certain income bracket, certain age group, certain job roles. You know, you can target all that stuff on social.
Yeah.
And really get that audience in that you want to get.
It's one of these things where it's a different world. right? It's just a completely different world, and what comes with that. And I said again that this actually brings me quite nicely onto my next question. Although it is a brand new world, but that means there's obviously going to be a brand new guest, right? The next
Absolutely.
generation of guests, the next generation of booker. From your perspective, what do they look like? What do their social media habits look like? How does that work with where we're at the moment, and again where things are going?
It's, it's an interesting question, because we've seen a lot of change in guests over the last
Mhm.
year. You know, some of the interesting stats that came out from social media were, Instagram added 111 million users last year
Yeah,
in one quarter, just in one
yeah,
quarter. Facebook usage went up 50%. 77 million users a day were added onto the platform at one point last year.
bloody
So
hell.
yeah, the social landscape has completely changed,
Mm.
and sort of because of that, the way people use social has changed, and then as a next follow-on from that, the way people will use it going forward will change. These habits will not go. So
Mm.
Facebook saw a rise in age range, for example.
Right. Yeah,
So my parents are my dad's 73, and he's now on Facebook because during the lockdown, it
yeah,
was a great way to keep up with his friends.
yeah,
So Facebook saw a slight rise in that. So we've seen a shift in age group
yeah. Hmm.
for the new guest. We've also saw a shift in people asking questions around COVID. So
Right.
we had four
Yeah.
times the amount of questions around sort of the methodology, I should say, of how hotels are going to work going forward. So,
Yeah.
again, I haven't been into an airport for over a year. I don't know the
No.
next time I go into an airport what I'm really supposed to do.
Mm.
I'm going into London for, as I said to you earlier, I'm going into London for a meeting next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
First
Yeah.
one, first one in 13 months, and my initial thing will be to put your hand out,
Yeah. Oh,
shake
I was the
hands.
same. Yeah, I was the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. So we've seen a 4 times rise in questions around procedures to do with COVID.
Yeah.
Um, but the main thing that people need to be aware of with the next guest, and obviously you alluded to it earlier, is the change in habits and the change in sort of upbringing of what they're used to.
Yes.
So, you
Yeah.
mentioned a few really, really good points earlier when you said about Amazon
Mm.
delivering you a parcel. So, people hear me talk about this a lot, but Gen Z are going to be the next group of travelers.
Mm.
Um, Gen Z purely being brought up on an on-demand culture,
Yes.
as you said earlier. Amazon with parcel. They don't tend to wait in dodgy cab ranks like we all used
Yeah.
to on a
Yeah.
Friday and a Saturday night. They just get an Uber. They don't have
Yeah.
to sit there for 3 hours in the pouring rain waiting for the cab to turn up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so they get an Uber, but also it's suggestion, right? And this is one thing that's really, really
Mm.
powerful with social with this. They are used to suggestion.
Right.
Okay, so Netflix is a prime example. Netflix
Yeah.
gives you tons and tons and tons of content, but on top of that, Netflix learns what you like, and Netflix
Mm.
suggests to you what you should watch next. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
Don't even let it cross your mind, because we'll just serve this up to you.
Mm.
Okay, so you have that. You have Facebook algorithm
Yeah.
that learns what you like. I don't know if anyone saw the documentary that was on Netflix about social media. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, but it learns
What was it called? Social.
it was the social something or other, wasn't it? It's gone out of my
Ah,
head
I've
now.
forgotten now, but it was incredible. Anyway,
Yeah,
I digress. No, go
yeah,
on,
no,
carry on.
but it said to you,
Dilemma.
right? Yes, the social
Social
dilemma. Well
dilemma.
done.
There you go.
Well
There
done.
you go.
That's it.
Go
It
on.
said to you, it will learn what you like,
Yeah.
and then it will serve you what you like, but it will serve you in certain intervals that it knows when you're the most responsive.
Yes.
Okay, so we're back to suggestion
Yeah.
again. And what I said earlier as well about people of a younger generation now vicariously live their lives through the experiences of their peers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, with a hotel in mind, if somebody puts up a great photo in the bar of a fantastic hotel, it goes to 500, 600 people of their followers or their friends on Facebook.
Mm.
Those people are more likely to go. Well, two reasons. They're more likely to go, I should go there because that looks cool, and my friend's
Yeah.
been there. The second reason is all about social standing. There's a stat that I've seen that says if somebody promotes a luxury product on social media, it's 1.5 to 2 times as likely that somebody else will either follow that product or follow that person to enhance their own social profile.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So again, it's all suggestion. They've been suggested that this is a cool thing. You should be involved with this. It's that suggestion. So again, if hotels aren't on social, if hotels aren't making the most of their social media presence, they are going to get passed by this next generation of followers. Because I say again, if you're not doing it, your competitor is.
Yeah, these are almost like the secret weapons of social media, really, aren't they? They're the things that are going on in the background, like the suggestion mainly, where things are popping up on your feeds, and you immediately will think, like the sort of dog food, advert analogy, but on social media, it is something, because I had it very recently. In fact, I was looking at places in Bali where I can visit when obviously everything does sort of, calm down and everything else. And all of a sudden, I started seeing more and more things about Bali, whether that be actually people in Bali at the time or locations in Bali and so on and so forth. And it's interesting because every single one of them I clicked on because I was going through the motions of looking at these locations anyway. I thought that picture looks gorgeous. Where is that? And you're right. It's so inherent with people now. And I think because, everything is done on this now. And if you have a generation that has been brought up with this, I mean, we all see it. You go into a restaurant, you see people with their kids on iPhones or iPads or tablets or whatever. It's ingrained in them from day dot, right?
Yeah.
So how can they expect it not to be within their everyday lives? That is an absolute given. But if you're not taking advantage of it, you're behind the curve. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's what I say. It's been accelerated by the lockdown.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
100%. People, and again, people have heard me say this before, but people started using social as a window.
Yeah.
And it was a window to the world, and it was a window to see what your friends were doing. It was a window to buy products and services. But now it's turned into a window to do research, to see what you want to do when we come out of this situation, which is going to be very, very soon, all fingers crossed. But, again, another stat I'll throw in, 45% of searches on Instagram were travel, hospitality, destination. That's the largest search on Instagram now.
Doesn't surprise me, does it? With the situation, everybody's itching to get away.
Yeah, but people, my partner's a great example. She will, we were looking to go up and see her parents way up in the north, very, very close to where you live, funnily enough. That sounds like a beer.
Yeah.
And so she looked at hotels. So she Googles. So first she Googles. She Googles hotels in Hartlepool, right?
Yep.
Or near Hartlepool, which comes up with a list. Now, before social, or a few years ago, you would have just clicked down the list on Google. The first thing she does now is she jumps off of that and she goes straight onto their Instagram, straight onto their Facebook, because the content is so much richer and more interesting. You get not only do you get the EGC stuff, which is the employee generated content, you'll have some professional photography on there as well, but you also get to see people's actual experiences.
Yes.
So people who have stayed there, people who have been in the bar and shared a photo. And you get to see that. So she uses that now, and that it's happened to us before, where she's before the lockdown. When she's changed hotels before, we were looking for a hotel in Paris. She's changed the hotel we booked because the other one she found that was 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
The social photos were so much cooler that she was like, no, we should stay here. It's the same price, but look at this. It's got this, and this.
Yeah. And
we changed booking, and going forward, this is going to be what people do.
Yeah. Mate, I just from I suppose, because obviously outside of work, I do photography. And one of the first things that I always go on, and I have done for years since I can remember, but when I went onto any hotel website, the first thing I'd do is go to gallery. The first thing I'd want to see what the actual place looks like. And I inherently, thinking about it, would judge them buy their content. I'd be like, that looks rubbish. Whereas, you know, if I mention one OTA in particular, if I jump onto booking.com and I'm looking at booking something in Bali, because it's just so simple, the first thing I do is go through the pictures. Does it look nice? No. All right, move to the next one. Does it look nice? Yes. Then I look at the details. And I suppose that's quite a true way of being a consumer in the travel market, is you want to stay somewhere that looks amazing. You're not, you know, it's sort of that fine line between price and sort of environment. You know, how much of that environment can I get for as little as possible, or however you want to plan it.
Yeah.
Now in Bali, it's not that
eat with your
difficult because it's so cheap. But I think, yeah, exactly that. You do, and I think that's where we've been for such a long time. But now it's being amplified even more by, one, a generational thing, a social aspect, and two, a pure necessity element, because everything is done digitally right now because of the current situation. So in a post-pandemic market, everybody's going to be looking at social media rather than the conventional websites and OTAs. They're going to jump on social media before anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like I said earlier, and this is the, you know, you say it's like a different world, and social media, and it is a different world. If you don't know what you're doing, and this is where a lot of places can struggle sometimes, they will do their social media in-house.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not saying agency is the be all and end all. It's not a sales pitch, but the facts of it is that unless you've got a very, very good, very, very experienced team who do your social, you know, you're not going to have the impact. Now, you know, this is a scary prospect, but you know, people have been looking at static images and photographs online since 2004, when Facebook started coming out, and 2006 when it really went mad.
Yeah.
If you are still in 2021 only showing static photographs, you're going to get passed by. It's got to be entertaining. It's, you know, it's got to be something
engaging.
You can grab onto. It's got to be engaging.
Yeah.
You know, now, you know, we use a lot of cinemagraphs now. We use a lot of short form content. We use Instagram grids. We use all sorts. You know, it's drone photography. It's enhanced video, underwater capture.
Yeah.
You know, I know some of those things are very expensive, but my God, they work.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you just keep putting the same old static images up, you won't have any impact. And the other side of that coin is if you're doing in-house and you're not promoting to the right audience, you're just blanket covering. We've got that dog food issue again. You know, so you know, if I want to go and stay in, you know, I don't want to name names, but if we, you know, the top 5-star hotel in London, you know, that's thousands of pounds a night.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm on a, you know, if I was on a, you know, a certain income, or people were on a certain income, that doesn't appeal to them. You know, the amount of times you see people commenting on Facebook, why is this in my feed?
Yeah.
You know, I actually got served up a luxury yacht last night on Facebook. Right. This thing was 1.3 million. Right. So it's like, you know, like the
pocket change. What are you talking about?
you know, well, it will be by the time we're finished. No,
of course. Yeah, of course.
But, you know, I thought, why the hell have I got a 1.3 million luxury yacht in my Facebook feed? And that's because at some point I've accidentally clicked on something to do with yachting, I think. But you know, but with hotels, again, if you're sending your all your content out to a blanket audience that isn't the audience that will normally stay in your hotel, what a waste of time and what a waste of money. You know, Facebook is a, you know, for example, it's a pay to play system.
Yeah.
And if you're spending your ad budget unwisely, you might as well just burn the cash, because it's going to go to people that will not be your target audience. Yeah. So again, when you're working in house, it's very difficult to have the technology to really make an impact on social these days. B, have the really account management experience of how to target the right audience, how to build an audience as well, how to build a mirror audience, you know, Facebook pixels, all this kind of stuff for tracking return on investment. If you don't understand that, you're just going to put good money after bad. Yeah. So, you know, it's, as we say, the new guest is going to use this stuff more and more. These habits are not going to go away. the habits that people of a certain age group of the 50s, 60s plus that have formed over the last year on Facebook because of the lockdown. These habits aren't going to go away. They're not just going to suddenly drop it. It's become ingrained, and so the new guest is going to be very, very on-demand conscious, B, content conscious, and C, the habit. It's just a habit for them now, and they're going to expect their updates on Facebook or Instagram now, brand updates. We know there was a survey that 90% of people, it was 91 I think was the number, said they were happy to be served their updates on Facebook now. It's a new, as you said, it's a new kind of landscape. But with that will bring new habits and a new type of guest. So hopefully that kind of covered the question.
No, it did. I think we sort of had a conversation about it, and I think it's one of these things where, it's that adapt or die thing. If hotels do not understand their audience and who they are going to be, they will fade into non-existence. Because if they're in a saturated market already and others are already adopting that way of working and that ethos and that mindset, they're going to be behind the curve before they know it. They're going to be completely off the curve, which is the problem. But I think it's conversations like this that do need to happen, and the adoption of good social media practices is going to be the changing point for any business going forward into not just a post-pandemic market, but just going forward. I just think the pandemic has amplified the need and the necessity for change. But I've said that more than too many times already. So that actually brings me on to my last question, which is about, I suppose, you personally, but also, I suppose, BCV as a whole. I mean, what's going on with you guys at the moment? What's interesting? What's exciting? What's happening?
Yeah, kind of what's not at the moment. So I guess the most exciting thing is just in general that we're bringing something new to the UK market that doesn't exist at the moment. Don't get me wrong, social media agencies exist in the market, but we are hospitality specific.
Yes.
We are geared purely to hospitality, and there's nothing like that at the moment. So when RateGain bought BCV back in 2019, the reason for that was because RateGain knew that this was an opportunity to get something great into the UK and something that's really, really necessary.
Yes.
So on that side of things, it's exciting that we're really starting to build something. We're getting some really, really exciting contracts with some really fantastic hotels, which again, you're privy to that information. You know the ones, but these are brilliant hotels. And they're seeing the value in what we do, but in what social can do, and they want to be part of it. So that's really exciting. And so we've also partnered with the ASAP or the ASAP, the Association of Service Department Providers. So that's very exciting as well. So that's a great organisation, and we're going to be their sort of their social media provider as a product to them, to hopefully to their members. So that all kicked off this week as well. So that's exciting.
Fantastic.
And but overall, it's really just things are starting to move now. We've had a tough 6 months, as everybody has. When we thought hotels were going to reopen again back at the end of last year, and then they opened for a matter of weeks and closed again. But what it's really enabled us to do is to build the awareness of the brand, BCV. And now things are really starting to move, and we've got some really, really interesting stuff on the table.
No, to be honest with you, as I say, from the moment we sort of caught up and had that conversation, and you showed me obviously what BCV was, I was sort of amazed by it, to be quite honest with you, because it was something that I'd been talking about for quite a while within my circles from a social media point of view. And of course, the reason I'm supposed privy to a couple of things that are going on with you guys is because the Hotel Collective, which we founded, our content creators are of course partnering up with you guys to create the content for the hotel. So it's sort of one of these things where firsthand I'm seeing the types of professionals that are going in and the types of content that's going to be created. It's a really exciting thing, and I think that's going to generate a necessity for others to then jump on that, because they're going to see that content's brilliant and we don't have that currently. And I suppose with the types of hotels you've got on board and you're already partnering up with, there's some big players and people listen to what there's going on with them. So it's definitely an exciting time. And I think, again, I think it'd be good for us to maybe do another one of these in, say, I don't know, towards the end of the year, and just see that journey just from the between now and then, because I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
See how great my hair's gone, yeah?
Well, this is it. Yeah, I mean, come on,
I'm
mate.
trying to
Look
catch
at
up with you.
Look at the greys, for crying out loud. That's the pandemic.
Yeah, that's it. I just want a haircut. This is getting ridiculous now.
Yeah. Well, not too long to wait now. Not too long to wait. No. But Stuart, I just want to say a massive thank you. I know how busy you are at the moment, so massive thank you to you for taking the time out to join us today, because this subject, I think, is so massively important. So a massive thank you to you. No,
thank you. I really appreciate it. No, it's been fun. It's been fun, but I still want to do hot ones if it carries on. Just remember.
How many people have asked me? We'll see what we can do. We can see what we can do.
900th on the list. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But guys, I just want to say a huge thank you to you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. It's been a lot of fun, and please do check out who's on next week's episode now.